People say you shouldn't be doing predictive readings with the tarot, you shouldn't be telling people's fortunes. But I really question, why? Let me tell you why I disagree with this notion. Hi everyone, this is Casper the Boy Diviner here today. If you enjoy this topic, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe to this video. I really appreciate it, it will really help me out. Let me move on to talk about today's topic. Why predictive readings are so discouraged by people, who teach the tarot online, people who have literature on this predictive readings. People don't seem to really like it. It always feels like querents, people who don't learn the tarot, seekers, we can call them seekers, they tend to want predictive readings, but more often than not, most tarot readers nowadays don't seem to entertain this notion. I've seen so many people explicitly saying that they don't do predictive readings, they don't tell fortunes to the tarot, and I do feel like there's some sort of stigma against predictive readings. So first of all, I think it's important to address why people don't think predictive readings are good, or people shouldn't be doing predictive readings. It is something that is perpetuated by media. It can be quite false at times. When you hear fortune telling or predictive readings with the tarot, you think about those witches that are portrayed in movies, and whatever comes out, determines your fate. So that kind of notion of fortune telling is wrong, and it's easier to tell a querent, I don't do predictive readings like that, than to really dive deep into what a predictive reading is. So it's easier to explain that I don't do it, that you don't do it. I think that's the first reason, because it's easy. It's an easy shortcut to explain to a person who is new to the esoteric. So that's the first thing. I think number two, I've seen this tossed around sometimes with certain sites and teachers that maybe predictive readings are not actionable, they're not helpful. I've seen people saying you shouldn't be asking what will happen. You should be asking why this happened to me, and then how should I move on from it. I don't disagree with that comment. I do feel like sometimes how and why questions are much more useful. At the same time, I wouldn't say that predictive readings are not actionable at all. It's not as if I take out a card and it says I'm gonna have a bad day, that I'm gonna have a bad day. This goes with my tarot philosophy, or my divination philosophy, which I will cover later in this video. But I feel like a lot of people do think that when you take out a card and it says something for the future, that is not actionable. You just have the knowledge and then you just have to live it out. That is not true to me at all, but that's what I think some people think. The third reason why people don't say that they don't do predictive readings, or you shouldn't do predictive readings, I feel like it is because they are marketing to a certain segment of people who are more logical in thinking, people who are more grounded in sciences and don't really super believe in the woo. Those are the sort of people that they may be marketing to. They are marketing to skeptics, people who are interested in the tarot but do not have the confidence that they have the intuition to do predictive readings, or skeptics who like the tarot images and want to learn more historically, but if you tell them, oh, it can predict the future, it raises alarms in their heads, and that's why they don't go for the course or buy the book. And that's why I feel like no predictive readings with the tarot. It's also a marketing ploy to try to get that segment of the market, because it also gets the segment of the market who is interested in using the tarot for fortune telling, because we are still interested in the tarot. I would say the fourth reason, and maybe one of the biggest reasons I feel that why people don't do predictive readings, is because they're afraid. They're afraid of, number one, something bad happening and having to explain to their client why or how bad things may turn out. I think there's that fear. And number two, they have the fear of being wrong. With predictions, there is a high chance. You're making things up from a bunch of cards, right? If you tear down tarot and every divination technique to its bare minimum, we're just looking at symbols and just making things up. So I do feel like, of course, there sometimes feels like there's a high margin of error, and you're afraid that you're not accurate per se, where you predict something and it goes wrong, and your querent or the person who bought a reading from you can blame you or scold you or say that, hey, you were not accurate, you were wrong, this didn't happen. So there is that fear of the pressure of having correct predictions, number one. Number two, it's also that pressure of having to convey bad news without freaking someone out, because predictions are not 100%. Yeah, I think these are mainly the four reasons. If you are against predictive readings or you don't think we should be doing them, feel free to comment below if you have other reasons for that. I'll be more than happy to learn and understand why this point of view exists and why it's so prevalent nowadays. Okay? I really would like that discussion to happen. So please go ahead. Even if you do support predictive readings, also please comment, because if you have any idea why people are against it. Also, no offense to people who are super into the new age stuff. I do feel like people who are more tending towards the new age, they tend to be more against predictive readings. They would like more reflective readings. I think that's what they're called. Where you ask how can you move towards that goal and things like that. I do that a lot. Okay, and I do try to guide my customers and people who come to me to ask the how, but I also don't restrict myself and say that I don't do predictive readings. This is my own self. Okay, let's talk about how I do readings for people. For every reading I do, I try my best to have the most have like actionable steps as much as I can. Sometimes the tarot just throws me major arcana, the judgment card and the temperance card, and those cards are not actionable, they're not practical sometimes. So those are hard. But I do feel like predictive readings doesn't mean they're not actionable. So I do want to talk about how that happens. For example, when I do a year ahead reading, I do see sometimes when I set the right space and I set the sacred space, when I see the cards, sometimes I feel called to tell them the predictive reading, right? For example, I see the Nine of Pentacles and I'll tell them, oh, you're gonna really be alone this month, but you're gonna enjoy the abundance of being alone. You're not gonna mull over why you're single, and you are gonna feel single in this moment, whether you have a partner or not. You're gonna feel single, but you're not gonna gripe about being left alone. So sometimes I'll go into that kind of spiel when I feel called to telling them the predictive reading. But at the same time, when I'm in that space and I see the Nine of Pentacles and it feels more like an advice card for some reason, maybe because of the cards next to it, maybe because of the mindset that I put myself while talking through the reading, I would say this month you really have to focus on dealing with your employees, because they are the key to your success. The bird on the woman's arm is someone that she has nurtured. So think about your mentees, think about your employees and people who report to you at this point in time. They are the key to you getting that garden around you. They are the ones that are providing you that abundance. So again, all this is intuition and basically divination, right? Looking at something and seeing what you feel and saying it out. I don't know. I don't feel like you should be censoring yourself during a reading, like, oh, this is predictive, I'm not gonna say anything, because they can't do anything about it. But telling someone that they're gonna feel alone but happy, I don't think it's that bad a thing. Or even if you tell them something, I'll be tackling that later, where you're afraid to share bad news with someone, or making the wrong prediction. But I don't think you should be censoring yourself just because something doesn't feel actionable. The idea that you're gonna be alone but happy, maybe it's not something actionable. Let's say I get the Three of Swords. Okay, the Three of Swords, that's the worst card, or one of the worst cards. I'll say that, hey, you'll be suffering through heartbreak here. You'll be feeling the pain in your heart as you suffer through this growth in this relationship with your partner or someone who is close to you. What can you do about that? You may want to think about preparing for that. And then we look at the previous cards. Maybe what are the factors, because it's a year ahead reading, right? What are the factors that lead to this Three of Swords? Because, okay, so all this ties with my tarot philosophy or my divination philosophy. This would address the wrong predictions, the fear of wrong predictions, the fear of telling people tough things. My divination philosophy, is based on Chinese metaphysics. Chinese metaphysics, we believe, I don't know if it's the same for Western. I know Western, they say as above, so below. In Chinese philosophy, in Chinese metaphysics, there is such a thing as well. But what I want to focus on today is the three things that make up our lives, right? Heaven, earth, and man. 天地 and 人. These three things come together to determine your life and what is going on. So if we have a predictive reading, what is coming out here is only that 50%, is only the 10, okay? And that's why it can still be influenced by your own actions, which is Ren, human, man. And then there's also Earth, which is another factor that you can control as a person. You know, if you move to a new place, if you shift the furniture in your house to get better feng shui, all this can change the reading that appeared there. That is only 50%, based on my gut feel, and from what some feng shui masters have discoursed with me. Tian is about 50%, they would say. Di is around 30%, and maybe Ren is about 20% or even less. So Ren, human, what we can do is really just our willpower. If you see that there's a heartbreak coming up towards you, you know, you can change it by trying to be nicer to the person you're with, or trying to work harder on your communication with your partner before that happens. That's the 20%. The 30% is maybe moving out. Maybe you guys are living together. Maybe you should be moving apart just to give each other space. Or maybe you should be moving in together. Then that changes things as well. That changes the reading. Because of my philosophy, my divination philosophy, when I speak with people I read for who ask for predictive readings like that, I explain to them, hey, you know, whatever I read here may not necessarily be true. It's only 50% that I'm reading. And I'm preparing you for what may happen. But the fact that I'm doing a reading here, this changes things. You know, the fact when I put the card down, this is the prediction before I have put any cards down, before any action was taken. But the act of putting the tarot down has really changed that fate, you know. If you pretend that you didn't seen this reading, everything should go almost as planned. But the fact that you asked for a reading, I'm telling you what's happening. You have the power now. That 20% is existing now for you to make changes, and that 30% to change, you know, your space and change the vibes around you or whatever you want to do. That's another 30% you can do and deal with. So this is how I try to set expectations right. So, you know, people can come back to me and tell me how accurate I am. People also come back to me to tell me, hey, this doesn't really resonate, this really doesn't make too much sense. And, you know, tarot is not 100%. It's only 50%, like I already told them. And they understand that. They just want to understand maybe the aspect that I might be missing out because I didn't have context into their lives, you know. Sometimes not everyone, your customers don't tell you everything that's happening. And to gain their trust, you have to do some predictive readings. When I started out, I did a lot of Celtic crosses, because Celtic crosses really gives you a cross-section of someone's current situation. And I know a lot of readers don't like the Celtic cross. I know the ladies on the Wildly Tarot podcast don't like it. I know a lot of online people say the Celtic cross is 10 cards, is too much for a beginner. But to be honest, I disagree. And I probably will be talking about, you know, spreads you should use to learn as a beginner, maybe in my next installment of this series. Yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know what you want to hear from me. Learning tarot through spreads help, something like that. I know there are a lot of videos on beginner-friendly spreads, but I don't feel like you should be leaning on beginner-friendly spreads. You should be always pushing yourself to doing the hard things, and that's how you learn. Okay, so ignore my sudden fervor about learning. Let me just take it back to the original topic that we have today. I just wanted to cover finally what kind of predictive readings I do not do. There are some predictive readings I do not do, which are like hard yes and no's that last forever. So some readings I don't do is, will I find my true love? Usually I ask questions like, if I tell you no, can you take it? Can you accept it? And would you be able to let the issue rest? Because no, most of the time when you tell someone, no, you will never find your true love, and then they'll be like, why? How? Then we shouldn't be asking that question in the first place if you're not going to accept it. Okay, so any kind of yes-no question that you want to ask, you must be ready to accept the answer that you don't want to hear before I do that. Okay, we should be asking the how. If you can't take it, you know, I have never done a reading for myself, will I find my true love? Because I know it will devastate me to know if it's a no. So questions like that, or will I ever be happy in this marriage? I'm not going to spoil your marriage. I'm not going to tell you a no. I'd rather do a how can I make this marriage successful. So I hope I'm not contradicting myself here. I'm happy to do predictive readings like what will happen to my marriage in the next 6 months, or what's likely to happen in the next 6 months. That's different from a forever reading where it's like, will I ever be anything? Those are the readings I feel like you're right. They're not they are right. The people who don't agree with predictive readings, they are right that these are not actionable. So make sure when you do predictive readings, it is something actionable for you, something that you can act on. I think that's the first question you have in mind before you do any kind of reading. I hope this little lesson, this little talk has helped you clarify maybe how you feel about predictive readings. I just really want to encourage people to do that, because to try them and give them a shot. I don't like that there's a stigma, or when I tell people I do fortune telling with tarot, and they're like, oh, you're that sort of reader, I don't know, or like people feel like you're not a good tarot reader just because you do predictive readings. I just want to debunk this. Okay, sometimes predictive readings can really give someone solace. You can tell them, you don't have to worry, it seems okay. At least the 50% is there. If you don't fuck up, things should be okay. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you ever do predictive readings, or if you already do them. What's your philosophy behind them? How did you overcome those factors, or if you just went ahead and realized you're good at it. Really appreciate you watching this video to this point. Again, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe. Comment, please comment, talk to me. I want to know if this is useful for you. Give me suggestions about my next video, which might be about spreads, like I just accidentally mentioned in this video. And you guys have a great rest of the day. You take care. Bye.